With the release of Paper Mario The Thousand Year Doors remake on Switch, I wanted to take a look back at the title that started this whole sub-series and see how my thoughts on it have changed over the years. It's hard to believe it now, and my bones are already starting to feel like dust just reading this, but the original Paper Mario released in the United States on February 5th, 2001. I wasn't quite 13 years old yet, so I still fell within the target audience for Nintendo's more cutesy approach to the Mushroom Kingdom. Back in middle school, Paper Mario was fun and exciting for me. To be honest, I don't truly remember any hype surrounding the release of Paper Mario. Since the PS2 had already been released just a few months prior, it wasn't like kids my age were clamoring to return to their N64s. I had gotten sucked into Perfect Dark the year before, and while I was still having fun with Nintendo's 64-bit console, Sony's latest hardware stole most of my attention. As you can likely guess, despite owning the PC version of Unreal Tournament, I also had that PS2 port. Still, I do remember the rather creative advertisement in magazines that had a cutout of Mario with the words "free demo" written next to him, and I had been enamored with the Super Mario series since I was 4. I obviously had to have this game. When I did finally get my hands on it, I played Paper Mario like pretty much every game I played back in my youth. It was on almost every single day after school. When I was younger, games didn't last me that long as I would plow through them in nearly record time. I'm still pretty fast at figuring out games, but I certainly had a lot more free time as a child. I remember discussing it with friends at school and laughing at some of the dialogue. Paper Mario was simply a good time. My memory is pretty fuzzy on all of the details, but I likely stayed informed about Paper Mario by visiting IGN 64. I was pretty lucky as a kid to have upper middle class parents, so we had an internet connection before most people in my neighborhood. As early as 1997, I was browsing the internet on 56K and searching for information on the latest and greatest new games. I do not recall Paper Mario originally being planned for the 64DD, but a quick blurb from a May 1997 issue of Next Generation magazine claims it was. At some point, Nintendo switched gears, likely around when the 64DD flopped, and set Paper Mario for the console proper. One detail I vaguely remember is the game going under the original title of Super Mario RPG 2, but that could also be my current memory playing tricks on me. There's plenty of documentation for this original name, including Nintendo's official website having a small write-up on the first iteration. Even as late as February 1998 in Electronic Gaming Monthly, Nintendo was still intent on calling this latest adventure Super Mario RPG 2. Though you can clearly see the art style differs from the SNES original, the follow-up was planned to have deeper connections to what Squaresoft had created. And what of that art style? Why was there such a dramatic change from pre-rendered 3D models to flat, paper-like sprites? This one is harder to track down, but an August 2020 article on PC Magazine links to a now-dead Japanese interview with producer Hiroyasu Sasano. In that discussion, he states, "The reason we went in this direction is we thought players might be getting tired of the 3D CG look on the PlayStation and other consoles. It's hard to bring out cuteness with characters made from polygons, right?" That is certainly a quote which only could have made sense over 20 years ago. I can't remember any of this mattering to me in the past, however. While I would experience a period in my late teens, early 20s where dramatic graphical shifts for established franchises irked me, I was really receptive to differing styles as a kid. Even the infamous Wind Waker reveal trailer didn't shock or upset me. I liked Link's funny face and stubby little legs. So for me, Paper Mario was just another Mario RPG, and I was ready to play it. As I said, I cannot recall what younger me thought of the game apart from enjoying it. As I wasn't really into RPGs in my youth, something like Paper Mario felt more approachable since it was simplified. This was by design too, as Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto wanted Nintendo's take on the RPG to be more beginner-friendly. In an old post from IGN circa 1997, Miyamoto told the site, "I think Super Mario RPG 2 will be the game that's friendly for game beginners and amateur players to start out with." That certainly rings true in the modern era, as Paper Mario can definitely feel a bit light. That's easily the one aspect that sticks out to current me. Paper Mario feels like a proper introductory RPG for players that are unfamiliar with the genre. I don't mean that as a criticism, mind you, but as someone who has played a wide range of games and often seeks challenge, Paper Mario is fairly easy. Interestingly though, the game is tougher than Super Mario RPG, which I can only claim as I recently played the Switch remake of that. Squaresoft really perfected its idea of a beginner RPG with that game after the flop that was Mystic Quest. Anyway, I point out the difficulty more because it's likely what endeared me to Paper Mario as a kid. I wasn't so big on challenge in my youth, even if I had grown up playing the NES in all of its hardcore glory. I routinely remember using Game Genies and such to finish tougher NES and SNES games. So having Nintendo craft an adventure that didn't demand perfection from the player is probably why I gravitated towards Paper Mario over anything on the PS1 at the time. That and it had Mario, so that was an easy sell. Returning as an adult, the standout feature isn't how breezy the game is, nor its wonderful art style, which really does hold up. No, I'm still a sucker for that dialogue. Since it's been so long, I had forgotten where Nintendo began to inject subtle humor into its stories. I had always assumed the GBA title, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, was the first one to embed the Mushroom Kingdom with light material and sometimes fourth wall-breaking jokes, but it actually began here. One joke in particular about Mario potentially being a murderer is so macabre that I can't help but love it. Some of this was borrowed from Super Mario RPG, but as my recent replay revealed to me, 16-bit games still weren't quite that sophisticated with their storytelling. I suppose limiting yourself to the Mushroom Kingdom in an era where Nintendo was ultra family-friendly meant Squaresoft couldn't push the envelope too far, but the only thread with any real depth came from Gino and his altered take on Pinocchio. In Paper Mario, there isn't much depth to the plot, but the jokes are far more daring with poking fun at not only the situations, but the very idea of video games. That kind of irreverence for a character such as Mario is very much appreciated in the modern era. Far too many franchises are starting to deify their protagonists to the point where discussion around characters has become flanderized. Mario himself has kind of experienced this in the main Super Mario titles, but the spin-offs have always taken a different approach. Through games such as Paper Mario, we've been given a Mario that is often dumb but courageous, a Luigi who is jealous and unassured while also holding godlike power, and a Peach who is smart and devious, but often very unlucky. It's a lot more endearing than simply, Mario saves the princess, roll credits. I think some of this is helped by the art style. Nintendo has always been big on art direction, so it's no surprise to see that Paper Mario still looks quite good. The characters are incredibly expressive, and that allows them to better emote during conversations. I still can't get over how animated Mario is, especially when he goes to sleep or falls down in battle. It's just plain fun. The actual technical makeup of the visuals for Paper Mario is also one of the better games for its era. The texture filtering and 3D models for backgrounds might be lacking due to the limitations of the 90s, but the beautiful sprite work and purposefully choppy animation make Paper Mario feel like it's a stop-motion animated feature. Even if we assume that Sasano's stated reason for the art shift isn't entirely true, I highly doubt that Nintendo felt 3D was overdone. The developers went full on in creating this paper-infused vision of the Mushroom Kingdom. It could pass as a very early GameCube title if rendered at a higher resolution. I'm surprised I've gone this long without talking about the three unique features Paper Mario has: its buddy system, its time-based combat, and its badge system. These are features that, despite later installments dropping the RPG systems entirely, have remained consistent throughout all of the Paper Mario titles. It really is a great formula for mixing up how players attain a sense of progression for their specific Mario. In a way to differentiate itself from other RPGs, Paper Mario simplified the process in which players will gain party members or select the skills they want to use. You still meet different party members over the course of your journey, but you can instantly swap them on the field with a few button presses. In combat, there's also a very straightforward menu for changing out buddies, encouraging experimentation from the player. The badge system is where the real depth lies. With this, Mario can acquire badges that unlock different attacks he can utilize. Wearing the Quake Hammer badge, and Mario suddenly gets access to a hammer attack that hits all the foes on the ground. If you don't want to focus so much on attack power, other badges will give passive buffs to Mario, including the chance for enemies to miss their attacks when Mario's low on health. There are also some badges that can extend Mario's HP and FP, which is this version's game of mana. Each has a required cost, meaning you can't wear them all and become completely unstoppable. None of this would have mattered if the combat wasn't fun, and that's where Paper Mario really got its hooks into me as a kid. My biggest complaint with turn-based RPGs in my youth was that your character felt like a passive entity. I was so used to having direct control over all of my actions in games that I didn't enjoy waiting around. While age has somewhat changed that opinion, I do still prefer action-based games, and Paper Mario is a very clever marriage of the two. Again, some of this is borrowed from Super Mario RPG, But Paper Mario went one step further in that both attacking and defending are given bonuses if you can time button presses correctly. When attacking, depending on what move you've selected, you'll either need to press A as Mario jumps on a foe, or hold the joystick to the left and release it when the meter fills. There are some other variations with this as well. For defending, you have to learn your enemy's attack patterns so that you can correctly time your button presses to reduce damage. It transforms the game into being much more involved, even if the tweak is a subtle difference. Honestly, that's a really good summary of why the original 2 Paper Mario games have endured for so long. Not every entry following the Thousand-Year Door has been maligned, but fans were taken with how unparalleled this type of combat was for an RPG. It was such a big hit that other major RPG franchises would eventually adapt similar styles, if not outright turn completely into action games. The Mario and Luigi games, for instance, are essentially portable versions of Paper Mario with even more twists thrown in. I'm not sure what the remake of the Thousand-Year Door is signaling from Nintendo, but I can only hope it means that the company is ready to re-examine why people fell in love with these papercraft games to begin with. If you'd like to revisit where everything began, there are plenty of different options for experiencing Paper Mario in the modern era, including a rather impressive PC decompilation effort. I replayed the game on the Nintendo Switch Online N64 app so that I could have a somewhat more authentic experience. It certainly would have been nice to see this running at higher resolutions and frame rates, but Paper Mario is plenty controllable at its original 30 FPS cap. Short of a full remake, I can't say playing the N64 original is inferior in any fashion. Unlike many of its contemporaries, Paper Mario runs smoothly enough and is visually appealing to modern sensibilities. The save system can be harsh, as there are no autosaves, but Paper Mario routinely gives you the options for saving after long cutscenes or tough encounters. The game is also easy enough that, even if you do perish in a boss fight, you'll likely only need to go through 5 minutes or so of gameplay to get back to the same spot. If you're looking for more paper action after playing through the Thousand-Year Door, I would definitely recommend the original Paper Mario. It's still a solid RPG that, almost a quarter century later, remains engaging on a mechanical level. Certain elements may have been bettered by newer games, but you can never top pure fun.